My fiancé said, "Put my name on your house or there's no wedding." I said, "Then there's no wedding." She smiled like I was bluffing. I called my attorney before the appetizer hit the table. By Monday, her mother was apologizing, her brother was demanding answers, and my locks, cameras, and bank accounts were updated. Original post: I'm Nalen, 35M. My ex-fiancé page is 32F. We were together for a little over 3 years, engaged for 7 months, and 6 weeks from the wedding when she decided marriage should come with a hostage negotiation. I work in IT project management for a hospital network. Stable job. Boring title. Good benefits. I bought my house in Raleigh 4 years before I met Paige. 3 bedrooms. Small fenced yard. Fixed-rate mortgage I'm irrationally proud of because I bought at the exact right time before rates got ugly. The house is in my name only. Always was. Paige moved in 9 months ago. She paid some utilities and groceries. That was it. I never asked for rent because we were planning a wedding and I thought we were building toward the same future. Turns out she thought future meant access. The first time the house thing came up, it was casual. She asked one night if I'd ever put her on the deed after we got married. I said maybe years down the line once we'd built a marriage first. She didn't love the answer, but she let it go. At least I thought she did. Then her brother Grant got involved. Grant is 38, freshly divorced, and suddenly an expert in what women should secure before marriage. He's the type who listens to one podcast and thinks he's a legal scholar. After a weekend barbecue with her family, Paige started saying things that sounded rehearsed. A wife shouldn't have to feel temporary in her own home. Real commitment means shared ownership. If you trust me, why wait? I didn't fight about it. I just said the same thing every time. We can talk about anything after we're married, but I'm not putting someone on the deed to a premarital asset before the wedding. Calm. Same tone. No drama. That should have been my warning. People don't keep circling the same point unless they're planning to land on it hard. The actual blow-up happened after our final menu meeting with the venue. Everything had felt normal. She was laughing, holding my arm, talking about linen colors and whether the late-night snack station was worth the extra money. Then we went to a little steak place down the street. Halfway through looking at the appetizer menu, she put it down and said, "I've thought about it, and I'm not marrying you unless my name goes on that house first." I honestly thought I heard her wrong. I said, "What?" She said it again, slower this time. "Put my name on your house before the wedding, or there's no wedding. I'm not walking into a marriage with no protection while you sit in a house that could never really be mine." I asked, "Are you actually giving me an ultimatum right now?" She shrugged, smiled a little, like this was adult negotiation and I'd eventually cave because there were deposits on the line. She said, "Call it whatever you want." I call it making sure I'm not stupid. That part was interesting, because the only reason she had to say that was she knew exactly what she was doing. So I nodded once and said, "Then there's no wedding." That smile stayed on her face for maybe 2 seconds. Then it slipped. She laughed after that, not because it was funny, because she thought I was bluffing. "Nalen, don't be ridiculous." I flagged the server, paid for the drinks, and walked out before the appetizer even came. By the time I got home, she'd called 9 times. Then came the texts. "You are overreacting. We are not blowing up a wedding over one conversation. Pick up the phone." Then came the voice notes. Angry first, then crying. Same pattern they always follow when someone expects panic to do what logic didn't. I didn't answer. I called my attorney instead. Then I emailed the venue, photographer, florist, and travel coordinator. Locked every vendor password. Changed the shared wedding email password too. After that, I changed the front door keypad, the garage code, and the alarm passcode. The locksmith came the next morning and rekeyed the deadbolt because Paige still had a physical key. Then I packed her things. Not in a rage. That part matters. I folded everything. 2 suitcases, 4 boxes, 1 makeup case, a framed engagement photo I did not care enough to break, and the little ceramic tray she put by the door that somehow always had my keys under her clutter. I set it all in the guest room and sent one email. "The wedding is canceled. Your belongings are packed. Pickup will be scheduled in writing only. Please return the engagement ring, house key, and garage remote. Then I slept 8 straight hours. Best sleep I'd had in months. Update 1. 3 days later, the flying monkeys showed up. First, it was her maid of honor, Kelsey, from an unknown number. Wow. So you cancel a whole wedding because Paige asked for basic security. Hope that house keeps you warm at night. I responded once with a screenshot of Paige's exact text from earlier that day, where she'd repeated the ultimatum in writing after dinner because apparently she wanted a paper trail for my attorney. No reply after that. Then Grant called. He opened with, "You really think you can humiliate my sister and hide behind paperwork?" I said, "I'm not hiding behind anything. She gave me a condition for marriage." I declined it. He started talking louder. Big mistake. When someone raises their voice at me, I get quieter. That usually makes them even angrier. He said, "You owe her for wasting her time." I said no. She owes me a ring. Then I hung up. Paige, meanwhile, started posting vague little tragedy captions online. Things like some men love control more than partnership, and it's wild how fast affection disappears when assets are involved. No names, just enough for dramatic people to ask if she was okay. I stayed silent. The surprise came the next morning. Her mom, Linda, called. I expected a lecture. Instead, I got a sigh so tired it sounded rehearsed. She said I told her not to do this like this. I said, "Do what?" She said, "Turn the house into a test. If she wanted to discuss it, she should have discussed it. Not waited until the wedding was paid for and tried to corner you." That was the first moment I realized Paige didn't even have full support in her own family. Linda apologized for the circus. Not for Paige, just for the circus. Then she asked if Paige could pick up the rest of her belongings from the driveway instead of coming inside. I said yes. Saturday at 11, I carried everything out myself. My next-door neighbor, Wedd, happened to be trimming his hedges and stayed outside longer than necessary, which I appreciated more than I said. Paige pulled up wearing oversized sunglasses like she was arriving at a courthouse after a celebrity breakup. Grant drove her. Of course he did. She got out, looked at the boxes, then looked at me and said, "Can we talk alone?" I said no. That stripped the performance right off her. "So this is really what you're doing? Throwing away a marriage over a technicality?" I said no. "You threw it away over leverage." Then I asked for the ring, key, and remote. Her face changed right there. She took the key off her keychain and tossed it into one of the boxes, same with the garage remote. But when I asked for the ring, she crossed her arms and said, "I'm keeping that." Consider it compensation. Wes heard that. Grant definitely heard it. I just nodded and said, "My attorney will handle it." Grant stepped forward like he wanted me to flinch. I didn't. Paige loaded her boxes, slammed the trunk, and left. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. That night she sent a 6-paragraph email about how I had chosen property over partnership, fear over trust, and ego over love. It read like a breakup speech written by committee. I didn't answer. Silence was doing better work than anything I could say. Update 2.5 weeks later, Paige realized I wasn't reversing course, so she upgraded from emotional pressure to administrative nonsense. First, my mortgage broker emailed me asking if I was trying to add a co-borrower after marriage plans had changed. Paige had apparently called the office pretending we were working through things and wanted to know what paperwork would be needed to put her on title later. My broker only reached out because I'd mentioned the breakup when I froze all joint planning. That man saved me a migraine. I locked down every financial portal after that. Then HR called me in. Paige had emailed my employer claiming I was withholding personal property, financial records, and work devices she allegedly used while managing our shared household. That one was creative, also stupid. I sat down with HR, showed them the pickup email, the driveway camera footage, the inventory list I'd made before pickup, and the message where she literally said she was keeping the ring as compensation. My HR director looked at the screen for maybe 20 seconds and said, "Understood. Sorry you're dealing with this." Same week, Grant showed up at my house with Paige around 9:40 at night. Doorbell camera caught the whole thing. Paige was crying. Grant was pounding on the door like volume would create ownership. I didn't answer. I called non-emergency and reported unwanted contact after written instructions to use email only. An officer came out, watched the footage, and gave them a trespass warning on the spot. That helped. What helped more was Linda. The next day, she forwarded me a text Paige had sent her. It said, "He'll cave once court gets expensive. He always acts calm until things get inconvenient." That message was gold. My attorney sent a formal demand letter for the ring that afternoon. The ring had belonged to my grandmother, appraisal on file, family photos with her wearing it. And in my state, an engagement ring is a conditional gift. No wedding means no completed condition. Paige somehow thought emailing back "I earned that ring by dealing with your control issues" was a strong response. It was not, so we filed small civil action for return of the ring, cease and desist language for the repeated contact, workplace interference, and nighttime visit. I included everything: screenshots, camera stills, HR summary, vendor confirmations, Linda's forwarded text. While all of that was happening, life got quieter in a good way. I got promoted to senior project lead at work. Nothing dramatic, just more money and fewer idiots above me. I also started going back to my Tuesday run group. A woman named Marin started showing up early and saving the spot next to hers for me. Easy conversation. No games. No tests. No weird little power plays disguised as intimacy. Our hearing got set for the following month. Paige still thought I'd fold before then. She was wrong. Final update: court was last Thursday. Paige showed up in a cream blouse and soft makeup with that exact expression people wear when they're trying very hard to look like the reasonable one. No Grant, no Kelsey, no online tragedy aura, just a folder and a shaky voice. She told the judge the house conversation had been emotional. She said the ring was given in love and the breakup had been mutual. Mutual. That word almost made me laugh. As if I had forced her to tie marriage to a deed transfer 6 weeks before the wedding. My attorney brought the screenshots, the appraisal, the demand letter, the HR notes, the driveway footage, the broker email, and Linda's forwarded message about making things expensive so I'd cave. The judge asked one question first. Did the marriage occur? No. That was pretty much the whole case. He ordered the ring returned within 5 business days. He also made it very clear that showing up at my house, contacting my employer, or using third parties after written notice was a bad idea if Paige enjoyed not having additional legal problems. We didn't even need to drag the rest out after that. In the hallway afterward, Paige cried and said, "You really chose a house over us." I said no. You tried to turn marriage into leverage. Then I left. Linda dropped the ring off at my attorney's office 2 days later in the original box. She looked exhausted. She apologized again and said, "For what it's worth, I don't think you were the one who ended this." I told her I appreciated that. Since then, things have been quiet, the good kind of quiet. I turned the guest room back into an office, donated the ceramic tray, replaced the framed engagement photo with a print from a local artist. Work is good, sleep is great. Marin and I are taking things slow, which is exactly how I want it. No merged accounts, no strategic tears, no countdown clock hanging over every disagreement. And the biggest thing I learned is this: the house was never the real issue. Respect was. If someone waits until the deposits are paid, the invitations are out, and the pressure is highest before they demand leverage, that's not fear. That's strategy. That's a person checking whether love can be used like a crowbar. If they'll do it before the wedding, they'll do it inside the marriage too. I didn't lose a wife. I lost a problem dressed up like a future. If you've ever had someone test your boundaries right before a major commitment, drop it in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe and share.